This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. Now today we have a very special show for you, and I've got a very special guest in the studio with me. I first met her back in February when I was giving a presentation to a task force on aging group, and she sat right up front, and I could tell she was connecting with the things I was saying. She had this radiant smile, and so we chatted right after it was over and decided to meet up for coffee. And when we did, I knew after just a couple of minutes of talking with her that she has a uniquely positive, can-do mindset that needed to be shared with everyone who tunes in to Empowered Living. So please join me in welcoming Katrina Gay to our studio. Katrina, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be here, and thanks for having me on. And I'm really looking forward to this podcast and kind of telling people my mindset and just sharing ways of how you can improve your life and really simple ways. And I think everyone can focus on making their life better, and it's very simple to do, and I'm just glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to jump into that, but I was telling you before we started recording, when I was looking through your list of everything you do, trying to figure out how to introduce you, I was like, my goodness, Chuck, telling our producer, say, this is quite a list. She does everything. She's a busy lady, but yet you always seem happy and so well adjusted in whatever you're doing. So
Thank you.
Maybe you could help me out a little bit and tell people how you like to share what it is that you do.
Thanks. By day, I'm a social worker, care coordinator at a hospital. And then in the evening, I'm an English as a second language teacher. I also volunteer with Newport News Host Lions Club, which is the world's oldest service organization. Our main mission is vision and hearing. I also am a board of directors with Link of Hampton Roads, so we help the veterans and the homeless in our community. So I do a little of everything. I kind of explain myself as like a life aficionado. I don't think there's anything I can't do until I try it. So I do a little of everything, and I love our local community.
Well, I love that. The really unique thing, I know a number of busy people, but most of them, when you see them, they tend to look like the last rose of summer in a hailstorm, and you never look that way. You always look like you just came back from vacation, and you're just having the time of your life, no matter what it is you're doing. You just seem to have this energy, and I think that's probably tied to your mindset.
Yes.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit of your story. You know, most people aren't just born being the cheeriest, most positive, can-do go-getters in the world. That's usually a little bit of a process of some perspective shifting. So maybe if you can just walk us through a little bit of your story and how you came to have the perspective, the mindset that you do now, and then, of course, all the things that's producing as a result.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, when I was younger, in childhood, I was very introverted, didn't have a lot of friends. I kind of stayed to myself. My mom had me involved in a lot of activities like gymnastics, piano. So I really kind of didn't have a crowd where I fit in growing up. So I took a lot of time and I did a lot of reading growing up. And my mom, she was kind of really instrumental in helping me develop my mindset too. She was very spiritual, not so much religious person, but very spiritual. And if there was a conference on positive thinking or changing your mindset, she pretty much signed us up. Sometimes we would go to conferences and I'd be the only minor in the room.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my first time we went to the Edgar Cayce Museum in Virginia Beach, and I was so young, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew all these people in the room were positive, and it was just a good feeling, and I knew I wanted to grow up, and I wanted to have that, and I wanted to share that with everyone else. So all during high school, I focused on reading different positive thinking books, going to conferences with her, and I think it just helped me develop into the person I am today. Even in college, in high school, I never was like in the in crowd. So I was still like to myself, and I had my little friends that I would communicate with, and we kind of had the like mindset. But when I hit college, I was meeting people from all different types of background, and I really got exposed to other ways of thinking, other psychologists and motivational speakers. So I really did most of my developing my mindset in college. And I determined there, it's like, well, a lot of what happens to you in life, you can't control, but you can control how you react to it. So I decided there, thank you. I was like, I'm going to make this the best life I can. And also growing up, I had a period of time where I was in a wheelchair for a short while. I had a medical condition. Luckily, it was corrected. So I spent a little time not being able to walk and kind of just at home. And my mindset there was too, it's like, well, I can get over this. And like I said, it was something that was easily correctable. But even then, I didn't get down. I was like, okay, this is only temporary. I can get through this. And like I said, in college, I just kept the mindset. And I think that's what kept me going. It's just the constant focus on if you change your thoughts, you can change your life no matter what. And yeah, everything's not going to be roses all the time. It doesn't have to, because I think the experiences that you have that are hard help you grow. So I'm thankful for the good times. I'm even more thankful for the trying times. I don't call them bad times. I just call them learning experiences. Because I think that really helps get you through.
Wow, I love that. In fact, the last podcast we recorded just before you got here, we touched on that because it's so important. It's not so much what we're experiencing as what we are becoming.
Right.
And that's what you did. But one of the growth laws that we teach is called the law of the environment. And it's so important. And you mentioned in several instances there the environment. Yes. The books in your environment, the mindset of your mom, the things that she exposed you to, the people that she exposed you to, the positive thinking. And I think so many people, they just keep thinking negatively. They don't develop their thinking because they never change their environment.
Right.
It's hard to grow when you're in a negative environment and around negative people. But one of the things I think that I'm hearing, as you were growing up, is those things in your environment, and then the people, in the college years and through other resources that really help you with that environment. So I think, if thinking needs changing, definitely need a change of environment. Because probably if you stay stuck in an environment, you're not going to grow very much.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize they think they have to physically be someplace else. And I'm a big fan of The Secret, the book, the movie. Right. And one of their sayings is what you think about, you bring about. So even if you're like in the worst possible situation that you can think of, your environment is your mind. So if you can't change your physical environment, you change your thoughts and it'll project out. And eventually your physical environment will change because of the experiences that you attract to you, the people that you're attracting to you, because positive thinking attracts positive people and they help you get into a positive situation. So it's a no-fail equation right there if you use it and believe it.
Right, absolutely. You change the thinking on what you're visualizing, what you're picturing. Then you start becoming more and more like your picture. And as you become that, then the other people who concur with that, who are in alignment with it, then they start coming towards you, right?
Yeah, like attracts like.
Yeah, I love that. The law of attraction.
Yes.
So now I wanted to ask you had mentioned to me a really unique story about a half marathon that you did. And can you this is something that just blew me away. The mindset and the perseverance, the focus and the commitment, a determination. So can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and what your experience was?
I sure can. It was back in 2009, and I was dating someone at the time who was very overweight, and I wasn't in any athletic shape at all. And I was dating this gentleman, and I used to watch the Shamrock Half Marathon every year in Virginia Beach. It was a big race, a lot of energy, people dressed up. It looked like fun. And I used to say, I would love to be able to do something like that, but I just don't look like them. I'm not athletic. But then I started seeing people who were kind of similar to me during the race. And I was like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? And the person I was with at the time was like, you'll never be able to do that. You don't have an athletic body. those people train for that. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So it took me about 9 months of training every night on a treadmill.
Wow.
And I got there to the race, first half marathon ever, never raced before. And I did it. I was one of the last people to finish, but I crossed that finish line, and it felt amazing because everything that he had told me or other people had told me, I just kind of decided that's not going to be my situation. Your words don't determine my situation.
Right.
So I trained for that, and it was so heavy at the time. And parts of the race, I said to myself sometimes, I just don't know if I can do this. But then I said, you know what? Everyone is out here doing this. They're not focused on me. So all I have to do is just put one foot in front of the other. I can get through this. I got here, and I can get to the finish line if I just keep going. So every negative thought that came up, and, I said some choice words to myself, but I just kept going. I knew I could do it. And when I crossed that finish line, it was amazing. My mom was there waiting for me. It's, like I said, I was one of the last people to finish. She actually put my medal on me, and she was like, I'm so proud of you because you followed this through and you did it. And it wasn't the ideal body. It wasn't the ideal situation, but I just made it happen. I was determined. I was going to make that race happen, and I just didn't let anything stop me. And I've taken that, and I think I've carried it through life. And like I said, even in life, you'll have some stumbling blocks like I did through the race. Sometimes I was like, I don't know if I have the right shoes on. Oh, this is too much for me. But that's with life. If you're determined you're going to get through it, you maybe not do it the way you originally set out to do it, but you'll figure out workarounds, to make that work for you. And I think people forget that in life. They're so focused on this is the path I'm going to take, and these are the definite steps I have to take. Well, sometimes those steps don't work out. So what's your plan B? Like they say, if you don't have a plan A, there's 25 other alphabets you can have. There's a B, C, D, E, F.
Right.
Pick another plan, keep going. So.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So I'm just curious, from the time that you decided you were going to run in the marathon until the time that you crossed that finish line, how many times do you think you pictured in your mind yourself crossing that finish line?
Every single night.
Right.
I was on my treadmill, and what I did is they give you a map of the race. You can download it. So what I did was my treadmill faces my wall. I blew that map up really big, posted it on my wall, and as I was running and walking at night, I would actually see myself getting to mile 1, getting to mile 2. Even though I wasn't actually there, in my mind, I had already done the race like 20, 30 times.
Wow, I love that.
So I visualized me already finishing it.
Right.
So in my mind, it was like, okay, you've done this already. This is not new to you. You're doing it in a new environment. You're outside doing this now, but you've already finished this race already.
So your mental starting point was the finish line.
Yes.
You were already there. You'd already done it.
I had already finished the race, got my medal. I just needed to do it in my mind one more time, which I was actually doing it for the first time there. Yeah. But in my mind, it was like, okay, this is the next time. You're doing it one more time.
Right. It's just what I do. I've done this many times.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm a pro at this. So I just didn't see anything else happening. I knew I was going to finish, and it didn't matter to me how long it took. Like, they have guidelines of when you have to finish. But I knew I could do it in that time frame, and I didn't care what, anyone thought about me. I just stayed focused on my goal. And an interesting thing happened during the race. I met a lady, same way. She wasn't athletic, and she was like, I've been doing these races a long time, but I'm having trouble. This one, I just, I didn't train. I'm not feeling well. And I said, this is my very first one. I'm excited. So I said, I will just stick with you. We'll get through this together. Nice. So we finished together, and I think she finished like a couple minutes before me.